Okay. Welcome to the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network. My name is Tammy Van Petigan. I'm one of the mental health clinicians here at the PCN. With me today is Rochelle Carrier. She is one of our mental health navigators. And today we'd like to do a presentation for you on insomnia. I don't think I have to define insomnia. Most people understand that that's what happens when you can't fall asleep or you're having difficulty staying asleep. So people with insomnia can feel dissatisfied with their sleep. They feel irritable. They have maybe a bad mood. They can't focus. Some people feel more impulsive, more angry. And this insomnia is a pretty common sleep disorder. Most people experience it sometime in their lives. Some people have lots of difficulty with it. And again, insomnia affects our concentration, our physical performance, etc. So other sleep disorders that can show up for us is sleep apnea. And this is a disorder in which breathing is abnormal during sleep. You probably know somebody with sleep apnea. Restless legs. This is saying a disorder of periodic muscle contraction, but all that means is when you go to lay down, your legs start to feel kind of restless and irritated, and so you can't stop moving them. And this is a problem for falling asleep and staying asleep. Narcolepsy is a neurological disorder in which people can fall asleep at times, and this affects the brain's ability to control the sleep-wake cycles. However, these sleep disorders are more rare than your average garden variety insomnia. And so we want to look at how is insomnia assessed. So probably the first thing you would do is to go see your doctor, and they would look at stress, like loss of job, relationship issues, bereavement. So usually anytime we have stress in our lives, it can affect our ability to sleep. We want to look at lifestyle. Probably your medical provider is going to ask you about that. How much exercise do you get? Caffeine, spicy foods, maybe exercising too close to bedtime. What kind of environment do you sleep in? If you have a lot of noise in your bedroom, maybe from the street, maybe it's quite warm, maybe you need some blackout shades for your windows, because all of those affect what kind of sleep and the quality of sleep we get. And also, when does sleep occur? Are you laying there for 2 or 3 hours? Are you only awake for 20 minutes before you fall asleep? Maybe you fall asleep quite easily and wake up in the night and can't go back to sleep. So that is also a sign of insomnia. And you want to look at affect. So affect means, what is your mood like? Do you find that you're kind of cranky in the day? You're short with people? Maybe you feel kind of disoriented for no particular reason that you can think of. And so we can attribute a lot of those things to insomnia. Behaviors, maybe you're waking up in the night because you have a baby. Maybe you are working shifts. And so if you're working nights for a week and then you have to go back to days, that can be a time when insomnia becomes a problem as your body tries to adjust to that new schedule. Another thing the medical provider wants to look at is your medical history. There might be other reasons for your insomnia that we won't cover in this presentation, and also a family history of insomnia. You know, how did your parents sleep? How do your brothers and sisters sleep, etc. Okay, so types of insomnia. We have a mild insomnia, which could be like due to environmental factors. If you're maybe playing team sports at 10, 11 o'clock at night and then you can't sleep, then we call that an environmental factor. Or perhaps you are going for a job interview tomorrow and you can't sleep because of stress, because you're worried about that interview. And then there's secondary acute insomnia. So this may be associated with medical condition, stress, mental health concerns, Certainly depression can cause insomnia, and other types of medical illness. So what's going to happen is your primary care provider might ask you to keep a sleep journal, to just make a note of what your pattern of sleep is. They might ask you to do a sleep study. That is, you would qualify for to have a sleep study done in your home, and that's going to track things like how long you're asleep, how deeply you sleep, how much oxygen you're taking in. It's also going to track things like restless legs, etc. Okay, and probably blood tests just to rule out any medical conditions that may show up there.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is the phases of sleep. So until 1950, most people thought that sleep was passive, dormant part of our daily lives. Then in 1953, researchers discovered rapid eye movement in sleeping infants, also known as REM. Scientists then began studying sleep and dreams, and we now know that our brains are actually very active and restorative during sleep. So infants actually spend about half their time in REM sleep, as REM stimulates brain regions in learning and brain development, whereas adults only spend about 20% in REM sleep. So there is no true demarcation between being awake and sleeping. So generally, stage 1 sleep only lasts a few minutes. You may notice hypnic jerks or small muscle contractions when you start to fall asleep. And then as you descend into lower states of sleep, such as 2, 3, and 4, respiration, heart rate, muscle tension, and body temperatures will all start to decrease. The fifth stage of sleep then is the REM sleep stage, so also known as rapid eye movement. REM sleep is the deepest stage of sleep, and people are actually generally very hard to awaken and are most relaxed when in the REM sleep cycle. Our brains are relatively alert, comparable to stage 1 sleepers as well, and this is when dreaming will occur, is during that REM stage. Each stage of sleep is probably related to consolidating learning and memory of different types that occur during the day, but more research is needed in this area to understand deeper. So just a little bit more of the sleep cycles. So phase 1 is light sleep, wakes easily. Phase 2, our eye movements stop, brain waves decrease. Phase 3 is a mix of faster and slower brain waves, also known as delta. And then phase 4 is almost exclusively delta waves. So this is when people become more difficult to wake. You kind of fall into more of that deep sleep, and there's no eye movement or muscle activity during this phase. And then finally, phase 5, so REM sleep or rapid eye movement. This is where our breathing becomes rapid, irregular, and shallow. Vivid dreams are also noticed if we wake up during that REM sleep. Eye jerk, our eyes will jerk rapidly and our limb muscles become temporarily paralyzed. This is actually a protective factor, so we don't throw ourselves out of bed. And then our heart rate and blood pressure also increases. So as we know, sleep is essential and necessary for survival. Typically, humans will spend about 1/3 of their lives sleeping. Sleep affects our daily functioning as well as our physical and mental health, so it is very important. The amount and quality of sleep changes throughout our lifespan. So as I said, infants will spend a lot more time in that REM sleep than adults will. And regardless of who we are, sleep is essential. So again, it will affect our relationships, work, school, driving abilities, so how we're able to interact socially with others. And actually, lack of sleep can lead to, as I said, different health problems. So it can lead to obesity, heart problems. It can impact our immune system. So we might be more likely to get sick easier, so a weakened immune system. And sleep is also very necessary for our nervous systems to work properly. So a little bit more about the importance of sleep. So what really happens when we do sleep? So our muscles repair themselves. We learn and create those new memories. We have a release of hormones that will regulate growth and appetite. So really important when for younger kids, especially with that growth portion. And then almost every type of tissue or system in our body is affected by our sleep. So our sleep really regulates our body, our hormones, our emotions, all that sort of thing. And then just some couple little stats. So it is recommended that adults 18 to 64 sleep approximately 7 to 9 hours per night, and that individuals, seniors, are usually sleeping about 7 to 8 hours. Average sleep time for people is usually about 7.12 hours per night. However, 2/3 of people report getting between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. 1/3 of people are actually getting less than 7 hours per night. Insomnia does tend to increase with age as well, which is something to note. And then, so approximately 43% of men and 55% of women, this is aged 18 to 63, do report troubles going to sleep or staying asleep, sometimes or most of the time or all of the time. So it is really important to recognize as well that insomnia is very common in all people. It also has been noted that women experience insomnia more often when they're pregnant, struggling with postpartum depression, or going through menopause as well. So chin up, sleeping difficulties is quite common.
So what makes sleeping difficult? We talked a little earlier about stress. Certainly that can make a difference. Anxiety, if you're worried about something all the time, that can affect your sleep. Depression, one of the most common symptoms of depression is insomnia or poor quality of sleep. Health concerns, chronic pain. If you're in pain all the time, it's going to be difficult to sleep. Uh, Women often experience insomnia during menopause. Shift work, as I mentioned before, when you're changing back and forth from, say, evening to afternoons to days, that can be a real problem for your body and your brain to adjust to that shift change. Substances, alcohol. Sometimes people think that having a drink before they go to sleep, because that helps them fall asleep, that's a good thing. But unfortunately, they'll probably wake up later, a couple, 2, 3 hours later, and not be able to go back to sleep. So it's a very artificial way of falling asleep. Nicotine is also a stimulant. So nicotine can keep you awake. And most people, of course, know that caffeine can bother you. And you need to be looking at caffeine in different places, not just coffee or colas, energy drinks. Some kinds of tea also have high levels of caffeine. So you might want to be looking at that when you're keeping a journal or a diary of your sleep habits, of how much of these substances are you using. Behavioral factors, that is like, are you going to bed on time? Are you getting up at the same time every day? Are you exercising before you go to bed? Sometimes that can be a problem. And lifestyle, newborn baby, pets. Most people find, like, when they have a newborn baby, they're not getting a lot of sleep, especially that first 4 to 6 months. Getting a new pet can be problematic because that pet's trying to adjust to your home and you're trying to adjust to the pet. And so that can be a problem. Moving is a highly stressful activity, and then again, you're in a new environment, a new place, and that can be difficult. Personality, if you're the kind of personality that tends to overthink things, or are saying to yourself, what if, a lot of the time, then that might be something that affects your sleep. Medicine, some kind of different medications can affect sleep. And environment, again, room temperature, noisy neighbors, noisy traffic. Perhaps you don't have enough blankets on your bed and you're a bit chilly. Perhaps you have too many and you're too warm. So checking into those kinds of factors can help. Bright lights. So what happens is when our brain is sensing that light around us all the time, it thinks it's daytime and we should be awake. So one of the ways of shutting down for the evening is simply going around your home and turning the lights down or turning them off. Spending too much time on screen. So if you're going to bed with your phone, you're going to bed with your tablet, this is going to be a problem, because not only are you getting that light from that screen, you're also being stimulated by the story or the narrative that's going on that electronic device. So something else to think about. Social demands. Perhaps you are running with kids. Maybe you're expected to go out a lot. And racing mind. So again, that's that thought thing where it's very difficult to stop your thoughts from just carrying on, and that can keep us awake. And we're going to address that in the future here. Okay. So let's talk about sleeping pills for a minute, sleeping medication. So this is often prescribed to help treat insomnia or sleeping difficulties. And we like to think of them as being useful in the short term. So if you do have some kind of stress that's going on, this is something that can be helpful. So that's one of the pros. The cons are side effects. You might experience daytime drowsiness. You might experience tolerance and dependency. So that means you're going to have to take more medication to get the same quality of sleep. And then we have a rebound effect. So when you do stop taking them, you find it hard to fall asleep because your brain is dependent on that medication and has forgotten how to naturally fall asleep. And so you can experience some withdrawal, meaning that you might have that experience of irregular insomnia again when you stop taking the medication. And it doesn't address the cause of the sleeping problem. So even though you think that the medication is helping, if there's other things going on like stress, lifestyle, environment, etc., if you're not addressing those, then you are relying on the medication to help you. And in the end, it's not going to change things for you. Okay, so if we look at this little slide about insomnia, so you're looking at, so you suffer from insomnia, you go to the doctor, perhaps you are offered medication, you ask for it, you start taking sleeping pills, you begin to feel dependent on sedatives to fall asleep. So perhaps you were only taking them every other day or every 3-4 days, but now you're taking them every night. You develop a tolerance to the drug, and so the pills begin to lose their effectiveness, and then you have to increase the dose, and this leads to higher doses and increased dose and dependence on the drug. So again, when you stop taking them, you're going to notice that rebound effect. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to treat insomnia. One of the things you can do is to start keeping a sleep log. What time do you go to bed at night? What time do you get up in the morning? What is the quality of your sleep? Is there anything that's waking you up at night? Could be noise, it could be temperature, etc. So looking at your environment, perhaps you had somebody sleep over at your house and you had to shift beds or go into another room to sleep, and then that made it a problem for you to sleep. Or like staying in a hotel or staying in somebody else's house can be a problem for sleep. Choices to make throughout the day. Are you having difficulties with things, making decisions? And so when you try to fall asleep at night, you are thinking about those things. So addressing worries, that is actually thinking about a plan for those worries. Identifying unhelpful beliefs. If we believe that we're always going to have problems sleeping, then that sets us up uh, to actually have those problems of sleep. And we're going to talk about what to do while in bed and also relaxation. So practicing good sleep hygiene is important. But if insomnia is chronic, other strategies such as cognitive behavioral therapy can be helpful. And we are going to talk about that as well. Other helpful ways to manage is massage, go swimming, hot tub. Water can be soothing and raises and cools down the body temperature, which can help with sleep. So in the evening, we want to be cooling the body temperature down, which is going to help us fall asleep. Okay, so if you look at a sleep log, for at least 1 week, use a sleep log in the morning and night to track time you went to bed and woke up, how many hours slept and quality of sleep, how many nighttime wakenings, factors that made sleep difficult, naps, caffeine, alcohol, any other substances during the day, mood throughout the day, and what activities you took part in. And why is this beneficial to keep a sleep log? Because you can become more aware of patterns and habits that may have an impact on sleep. And here we have a little sleep diary template. We just downloaded this from the internet. And this is one of the best ways of telling if you're getting enough quality sleep. And you can see that we're covering some of the things that I talked about before: alcohol, coffee, etc. Okay. So some of the tips for environment is try to keep the bedroom cool. When we start to turn down the lights at night and we start to cool down, that's a signal to our brains that it's time to go to sleep. Darker is best, so you want eye mask, blackout curtains, minimize lights from electronics, minimize noise. Invest in comfortable pillows, sheets, blankets. Reconsider allowing pets to sleep on the bed. I know lots of people love having their pets sleep with them, but sometimes if you have a pet that is up and down all night, that might be interrupting your sleep, and that might be something you want to think about. And think about how sleeping next to someone may impact sleep. So if they're snoring, tossing, turning, if they're waking up a lot, this might be something that's impacting your sleep. Okay. Blue light from electronics, devices, tablets, computers, TV, cell phones can interfere with sleep promoting hormones. So again, something else to think about is what kind of electronics do you have in bed with you?
So some sleep smart choices to remember if you are struggling with insomnia. Establish a fixed awakening time, even on weekends, so your body will begin to get used to that regular sleep rhythm. As Tammy mentioned before, shift workers do experience increased risk of or increased struggles with insomnia, and that can also lead to risk of heart problems, digestive problems, as well as emotional and mental health issues due to the changes in routine and their sleep patterns. Um, so as I said, one thing to remember is set a scheduled bedtime as well as a scheduled bedtime routine. So setting a bedtime routine can actually cue your body that it's time to go to sleep. Hot bath, PJs, brush your teeth, maybe listen to some soft music or read on the couch, and then go to bed once you start to feel sleepy. Don't force yourself to go to sleep unless you're feeling tired, because then you're just going to start feeling frustrated as well. Make sure to dim the lights the hour before bed. Exercise during the day. So physical exercise, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, can help improve your sleep as well. Being physically active each day and trying to spend time outdoors or in natural light can also help with insomnia. Exercise, though, may interfere with sleep if you are if you are exercising or taking part in physical activity 2 to 6 hours before going to bed. Consider caffeine's impact on your sleep as well and reduce your intake if need be. Um, Get natural light outdoors and in light, or be in natural light every day. So sunlight early in the day can help set your body's natural wake and sleep cycle. Notice your own body's natural clock and recognize that sometimes sleeping until the sunlight comes up can help with your circadian rhythm. Make sure you're eating healthy, light snacks that can also improve your sleep. So examples are light cheese and crackers, maybe a warm glass of milk or a banana before bed. Heavy meals late in the evening or spicy or sugary foods can disrupt our sleep because it's taking our body longer to process those heavy foods, those sugars, things like that. And like I said, caffeine can impact, so try to avoid caffeine at least 4 hours prior to going to bed, as it's a stimulant as well as smoking. So try not to be smoking at least 4 hours prior to going to sleep. Some other don't nap longer than 15 to 20 minutes, or if at all. Um, don't eat a lot of protein before bed. Don't exercise 2 hours before bed. Try to avoid those blue lights. So don't use a screen. So iPad, phone, laptop, those sort of things, again, a few hours before bed. Don't have alcohol, and don't do stimulating or stressful things right before bed. So don't check that work email. Don't check your regular mail. Leave those things till tomorrow. Those can be tomorrow's issues. And then addressing worries. So I think the nighttime is dark, so you can imagine your fears with less distraction. Um, Everybody has busy lives today. We are constantly worrying about one thing or another and have enormous amount of things that we have to do throughout our days. So it's actually been shown that worrying about lack of sleep has found to be one of the biggest causes of insomnia. We lay there thinking to ourselves, I need to get to sleep because I have so much to do tomorrow and I have this and this and this. And then that actually causes us and feeds into that insomnia and creates that lack of sleep that we're getting.
Okay, so one of the things that Rochelle just mentioned was addressing worries. So worrying about sleep and not being able to go to sleep. This is something that can be addressed by cognitive behavioral therapy. And all cognitive behavioral means is cognitive is thinking and behavioral is what is our action. So if we have like a negative thought, like worrying about loss of sleep, so maybe we're ruminating, we have racing mind. So rumination just means thinking a lot, perhaps going in kind of a thought circle that doesn't really get us anywhere or resolve anything. So that is like the behavior is the worrying. And then we get into this emotional, this is causing us anxiety, low mood. So this is affecting us emotionally. And then we feel these physical effects of tiredness, irritability, low energy, impaired performance. And from there, we go into excessive time in bed, irregular sleep pattern, sleep incompatible habits, and then we're back to negative thoughts again, worrying about the loss of sleep. So you can see this as really a deadly cycle, and we want to break that cycle by thinking about thinking, so what we call mentalization. So just tracking your thoughts. So overactive minds can be a concern as people often run through potential scenarios or replay stressful incidents repeatedly. So maybe you've noticed this when you lay down at night, you might be thinking of a situation that's coming up and you start doing this what if thinking. What if this happens? What if that happens? What am I going to do with that? So playing out these potential scenarios, making all kinds of plans for it, for something that's probably not going to happen. Or maybe we replay stressful incidents repeatedly. Something happened at work, and we just go through that over and over and over again without any kind of resolution, because of course we can't change it now. And so what can help you? Setting a worry time earlier in the evening. And perhaps you might want to pick a specific place in your home, a specific chair that you don't usually sit in, and put a timer on and sit there and think about all those things that were bothering you earlier in the day, or things that you're worried about happening tomorrow. Another thing that can be helpful is writing a to-do list for tomorrow's task, but also writing down all your worries. So you're wanting to take out the worries out of your head and put them down on a piece of paper. And then you can tell yourself, okay, here are the things that I can worry about later. I've written them down, so I'm not going to forget about them. Talking to someone about your concerns can be very helpful, keeping a journal, and thinking about positive self-talk, like sleep will happen, that kind of thing. That's going to help you fall asleep more quickly. So if you are having like negative or unproductive thoughts, you might want to think about the 3 C's of cognitive therapy. So catch the thought that came before the emotion. I'm never going to get to sleep. I'll always have trouble with insomnia. So we want to look at those words, never and always. Those kinds of words are always going to cause anxiety. So check. So first we have to catch that thought, and sometimes that can be difficult because thoughts happen so quickly, and then we miss the thought and we're into that feeling of anxiety and worry and not sure how we got there. So if we can catch that thought, then we can check on how accurate and useful that thought is. So if I'm thinking something like, I'm never going to fall asleep, we need to think about how often we've fallen asleep in the past, which is probably quite regularly, and think about this as maybe 1 or 2 nights. It's not going to be forever, and usually I don't have any trouble sleeping. So counteracting and challenging that thought and changing that thought to a more accurate or helpful one as needed. Okay, so think about the 3 C's: catch, check, change. How are you going to change that thought to a more helpful one? Okay, I always have trouble falling asleep. Again, that word always, is that really true? You have to ask yourself, where is the evidence for that thought? Okay, so here's some more unhelpful thoughts about sleep. I haven't slept well this past week. It must mean that I have lost the ability to sleep. Okay, you can see that's a very dark place to go if you have lost the ability to sleep. And then you check, am I assuming the worst? Is this thought based in fact or fear? Maybe I haven't slept well because I'm stressed about something that I haven't really thought about. Maybe I need to sit down and think about what is it that's really bothering me. Okay, or thinking things like, if I can't fall asleep in the next 20 minutes, my entire day will be ruined tomorrow. Is this true? Is your entire day going to be ruined? Or is it just going to be maybe not as good of a day as you could have had? Maybe you're not going to be as productive as you would have been. But chances are that your entire day is not going to be ruined. So again, checking that, challenging the evidence. And is this thought based in fact or fear? And so you might change that thought to, if I don't sleep well tonight, it will mean that I am tired tomorrow, but my day won't be ruined because of it. I've spent other days at work when I've had poor sleep, and I didn't do a great job, but I didn't do a terrible job either. Everyone else is asleep right now. We don't know that. How do we know that literally everyone in Edmonton is asleep at midnight? So the way to catch that thought, so we challenge it, and then we change it to, lots of people have issues falling asleep. It may feel like I'm all alone, but I'm not. Okay, so that's what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And we're using this right now with the problem of sleep. Can be used for all kinds of other issues. Here are a few unhelpful beliefs about sleep. So unrealistic expectations about sleep needs. I must have 8 hours of sleep each night. Probably don't need 8 hours each night. It's nice to get 8 hours. It's nice to sleep in, but you could probably function pretty well on 6 or 7 hours of sleep per night. So that unrealistic expectation, I must have 8 hours or else I can't function. Is that really true? And again, challenging that thought or belief. Insomnia can make me sick or cause a mental breakdown. That's highly unlikely. Certainly it's not pleasant to not sleep, and it can feel like really disorienting and upsetting when we don't get enough sleep, but it's not going to make you sick or cause a mental breakdown. Misattributions of daytime impairments. I've had a bad day because of my insomnia. I can't have a normal day after a sleepless night. And it's true that you might not have a normal day, but you might have an okay day. And if you're having a bad day because of your insomnia, or are you having a bad day because of some other reason? Maybe something's going on at work or at home that's causing you to have an off day, and it may not be because of your insomnia. So again, challenging those beliefs and thinking of some other reasons or rationales for why things might be happening. So ask yourself the following: how accurate is this belief? Is this belief based in fact or fear? And what else could I consider that perhaps I haven't thought about yet?
So what are some things that we should do in bed? 3 things: sleep, sex, and sickness. But why is this? And what does this mean? So we want our bodies to associate the bed with sleep. If other activities are done in bed, then it will not learn this connection. So really, we want to kind of avoid doing the following things. We don't want to be watching TV. We don't want to be eating. We don't want to be reading. No doing work on our laptops. Don't do homework. Don't play on your phone. And don't watch the clock, because this can actually cause more stress and increase our insomnia and make it more difficult to fall asleep. Um, and also, don't lay awake in bed for more than 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll explain that more on the next slide. So if after 20 to 30 minutes you're still laying in bed, have not been able to fall asleep, then we're going to want to try the following things. So get up and get out of bed. Ideally, leave the bedroom. So maybe go downstairs, sit on the couch, go to the spare room, read a book, things like that. Engage in in a boring, non-stimulating activity in a dimly lit space. So this isn't where we're gonna start checking emails, checking our snail mail, scrubbing the toilets, things like that. No, we're gonna wanna find a quiet place, maybe read a book, listen to some quiet music, things like that, and do that activity until that feeling of sleepiness returns. Once you start to feel sleepy, go back to bed and try to fall asleep. And again, if after 20 to 30 minutes you can't sleep, go back to step 1. It sounds super simple, but just removing ourselves from the bedroom and taking away that struggle that we're feeling, then we're not going to be associating that distress, that anxiety with our bed. We're giving ourselves a place where we can relax, get feeling tired again, and then we want to, teach our bodies that bed is where we actually go to sleep. So give that a try if after 20 to 30 minutes you've been in bed and you still can't fall asleep. And why does this work? So experts recommend doing this so that we learn, as I said, to associate our beds with sleeping and not lying awake with worry. So what to think about while we are in bed? So humans are incapable of having no thoughts for extended periods of time. Sure, we can zone off for 10 minutes or so, but likely we're still ruminating about things that happened during the day or that we need to get done tomorrow. Then stressful thoughts make falling asleep very difficult because we cannot fall asleep when we're stressed. Our body won't allow it. So instead of instead of laying there stressing, worrying about tomorrow's tasks or what went wrong with today, try the following. So the first thing you can try is the ABC game. So starting with the other letter A, think of as many words as you can that begin with that letter and then move on to B. So if I was going to choose say fruits, I would go apple, apricot, and then as many A's as I can, and then move on to B. So banana, and so forth and so on. Try the calming house as well as another technique you can use. So this is when you intently visualize a house that you have a positive memories of. So maybe it's your grandparents' home or your childhood home, your best friend's house, any place that you have those positive memories. And imagine yourself walking through each room in detail. um, what would you smell when you're in that room, or hear, or see, that sort of thing. Maybe it's your grandparents' place, and that spare bedroom that you used to sleep in always smelled like grandma's laundry and scented vanilla candles. So really taking in all those thoughts can be calming and relaxing to our body. And then something as simple as just counting our breaths, so that 1, 2, in, out, can cause our bodies to relax and stop producing those stress hormones that we're likely releasing, and help bring you to a place where you're able to fall asleep more easily. So the next thing we're going to talk a little bit about is relaxation. So practicing relaxation techniques can reduce stress and help with sleep by slowing our heart rate and our breathing, reducing muscle tension, and reducing stress, anger, and frustration. So it allows us to calm our brains, calm those racing thoughts, as well as when we are stressed, our body does release certain hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. So it calms our body's nervous system and stops it from releasing all those hormones that are actually amping us up, causing us to be more agitated, angry, frustrated, and making it more difficult to fall asleep. So there's different relaxation techniques which we'll kind of touch on. So some of them include calm breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, as well as meditation. So as a result of relaxation, many people will experience more energy, a better sleep. Our immune systems are better, so we're able to fight off those little viruses and sicknesses a little bit easier. We'll have more increased concentration. Our problem-solving abilities increase. We have greater efficiency throughout our day, smoother emotions, so maybe less anger, crying, anxiety, frustration. Sure, people can relate when you're super tired. Some of us become super emotional, so makes the littlest things kind of set us off. And then you're also less likely to have less headaches and pain, because when we are relaxed, we're not holding as much tension in our bodies where we might not have noticed we were holding it before. So some relaxation techniques. So there's deep breathing, also known as diaphragmatic breathing. So taking long, slow, deep breaths with our belly rather than our chest. So to make sure you're kind of doing this one right, if you put your hand on your chest and one on your belly, you want your belly hand to be moving, because that means we're getting those deep, big belly breaths and getting as much air in as we can. Doing something like a body scan. So focus on one part of your body at a time and mentally release any tension that exists. So maybe you don't realize that your shoulders are bunched up and you're really tense. So just taking notice of maybe where our bodies are holding that tension and letting it go. um, Guided imagery. So conjuring up a smoothing scene, places or experience that help your mind relax. So maybe it is that favorite bedroom that you used to stay in at grandma's. Maybe it's walking through nature, listening to the birds and the wind through the trees, or sitting on a beach, really anything that's your kind of happy place and brings you that sense of calm, soothing feeling. Another relaxation technique that a lot of individuals do find beneficial is mindfulness meditation. So consistently bringing your mind back to the present moment and being aware of the here and now. So too often we are worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, and we don't take that extra minute to be present in the here and now. So rather than when you catch your brain starting to wander and you're in bed about, tomorrow's exam or the meeting you have at work, bring yourself back and maybe focus on it's your pet snoring or, the street sounds that you can hear outside, or maybe you have pets and you can hear their water fountain trickling. So just kind of soothing the mind and not focusing on those what ifs, but focusing on the present and what you can actually experience in that moment. And then lastly, another relaxation technique is progressive muscle relaxation. So it's actually going through and physically tensing certain muscle groups in the body for a few seconds and allowing them to completely relax by releasing that tension. So maybe, starting with your toes and squeezing your toes really, really tight and then letting that go. And then, maybe the backs of your legs, squeeze those really, really tight and then let it go, working your way up or down, however you want to do it, just throughout your whole body. And this can also make you become more aware of exactly where in your body does carry that tension. So maybe it's in your jaw, maybe you don't realize it, but once you start doing this, you'll be more in tune to when that jaw starts to lock up or your shoulders start to tense up. And then you can do those check-ins with yourself as well. Again, this also helps our bodies release all that stress and tension that we might not be aware that we're carrying around with us. So in summary, um, insomnia affects a large population of people, maybe temporarily, maybe long term, who knows, but it is very common. So some ways to combat insomnia. We're just going to watch a quick little video and then we'll kind of do a little wrap up summary. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and here we go. Oh, sorry, we are having a little difficulty. Okay. Well, apparently the video is not going to play with sound, so my apologies, but you can check out the What Causes Insomnia video on YouTube. So when we're talking about insomnia, just to summarize, what you're going to want to do is, if you are struggling, is start small, make small changes, and use one or two strategies. Don't try to use everything we provided you all at once. Um, Start small, so maybe with a sleep log and progressive muscle relaxation each night, or meditation and a worry diary each night. And try these consistently. Do the same thing every night. And when you're ready, then add another strategy and slowly increase these behaviors. And remember to be patient. Change takes a lot of time. Um, some things can get actually worse before they get better. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Just keep trying. Baby steps. Remember, it's not going to get better in a week, maybe not even a month. It could be 6 months, but slowly you will get there. And then chart your progress. So use that sleep diary to keep track of the strategies and weekly progress. Sometimes when we have that in paper or on paper in front of us, it gives us that reminder that, hey, maybe I only slept an extra 10 minutes last night, but I slept an extra 10 minutes, or hey, it took me 25 minutes instead of 40 minutes to fall asleep. So just those little changes can really show us that tiny progress that we might feel frustrated that we aren't seeing right away. Um, Use relaxation therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and mindfulness meditation strategies. These can all help. Again, a lot of time insomnia is caused by our minds racing or environmental factors. So those fans or those noisy neighbors, things like that. So using those resources and those tools can help bring us to more of a calm place where our minds aren't racing, and maybe we're more focused on our breath than the neighbors yelling outside. So that can help us get to sleep. And then if your sleeping difficulties do continue, talk to your doctor. Maybe there is an underlying cause. Maybe it's more severe anxiety or depression or something, a family history. Maybe you have one of those other sleep disorders like sleep apnea, which is feeding into it. So if it does continue, definitely consult your physician and maybe discuss with them potential next steps to getting additional help. So lastly, we just have a couple of CBT resources that you guys can also check out if you are interested. So the Center for Clinical Interventions has a workbook on worrying. So if you've got an anxious brain and you're one of those ones that can't fall asleep because it's worry, 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 check this out. It gives you some kind of different tools and resources and things to work on. There's a CBT iCoach app, which is available on the App Store and Google Play. And there's also numerous insomnia books available on Amazon, as well as meditation, guided imagery resources that are available through YouTube, um, as well as apps on your phone. So definitely check out some of those.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Rochelle. I just
that's
wanted to
okay.
mention, if you go back to relaxation techniques and you plug in diaphragmatic breathing, body scan, guided imagery, mindfulness meditation, progressive muscle relaxation into the YouTube search, you're going to find lots and lots of videos to help you out. And like Rochelle said, there's lots of things you can do with your phone. There's lots of free apps that are available, and even like sounds, you know, if you like listening to the sound of the rain, etc., there's lots of those things on there that might help you. And if you've tried all these things and it doesn't seem to be working that well for you, please talk to your doctor. You can get a referral to the Oliver PCN if your doctor is listed with our PCN, and one of the mental health clinicians would be happy to help you investigate maybe some of the causes of your insomnia and give you some more strategies to help you sleep. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much to my partner, Rochelle. And I hope this has been helpful for you. If you do have questions, you know, give us a call at the Oliver PCN and hopefully we can help you out. So take care and sleep well. Bye now.